Panthers fans, I think it's a legitimate question to ask. Is this Frank Reich's last game coaching the Carolina Panthers? Let's go. What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here, your host of the Two Growls, One Roar podcast. Hey, what's going on, folks? Audio may sound a little bit different today. That's because I'm using the microphone recording into the video. So typically I separate both of those. I have one recording in GarageBand and then I do the video in another software. Today, I tried this earlier. I did a YouTube video this week, only on YouTube. That's right, a YouTube exclusive video. And I did that, so it may sound a little bit different, like the mixing likely isn't going to be the same, but it's kind of like the Panthers, you know? It is what it is. Let's kick it off, folks. And to have lost this game, I'm in a much better mood than I would have ever imagined. Not because we lost. Just coming out of the state, I think I got a lot of things out on Twitter, X, as I sat there, and I'm like, okay, things are going to be all right. At least they're going to be all right for me. I've got to kick it off, though. So again, lost 33-10, and it's what we expected. I said it was going to be a blowout, so the Cowboys were going to come in here. They were going to win this game. They did. They dominated this game. Dominated it. We saw some mishaps, miscues. Primarily a big miscue by Bryce. We had the fumble. We had the interception, pick six by Bland. And if you followed me on X, I called out Bland earlier in the week as he leads the league in pick sixes. And guess what? You know, Bryce, with the way he's played, here's the thing. I wasn't planning on diving right into this, but now I'm going to do it. When you go back and look at that, the effort by Mingo, not saying the effort for him to make the play because Bland just cuts underneath, makes just a great defensive play. But Mingo's effort to go after him after the ball's been intercepted is just piss poor. Yeah, I'm saying piss poor. I'm semi-cussing. I'm not really cussing. I'm not going to classify that as a curse word here. But it was piss poor, man. Learned a lot about him and his mentality. And the thing about the throw, or if you think about Bryce's interceptions this year, outside of the first few where he's kind of getting in the groove, a lot of them have been tight windows. We talk about NFL Open versus College Open. Some of the throws that he's made are kind of borderline between that, but then these defenders are just making really good plays, and he stared down Mingo, and the guy breaks on the ball, pick six. It's what he does. It's in his DNA. And it's what he's been doing the past 2 seasons. He leads the league in pick sixes, and leading it this year as well. And I don't know where you go. His fan base. But anyways, I had to get into this early in the episode. So, X is fun. Twitter, call it what you want. Call it whatever you want. It's fun. And if you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, I kind of look at things a little bit differently. Yes, I take this seriously. And yes, I take the Panthers seriously and I support them. But at the same time, man, there's a comedy background inside of me that I just love comedy, and I love making the most out of every situation. I'm not really a person that's ever going to be down or ticked off or pissed off, except for yesterday watching some football with the game that we won't talk about. It's funny, I'm sitting there on the couch watching college football yesterday, and Nolan goes, it's so funny to watch you watch football on Saturday versus Sunday. And I'm like, why? What do you mean? He's like, well, your team that you pull for on Saturday, the college, is actually pretty good, and they win games, and so you have something to cheer for. I was like, oh my God, dude. He's right, though. Although today, because coming out, the game was a little bit closer than I expected early, so I was into the game a little bit more. Got to tone it down just a little bit, but all that said, the comedic approach, because you can't take, this is a game. This is a game, and I love to hear people on here that just talk smack. That's the 99% of the reason I left X a long time ago. I stopped using it about 4 or 5 years because of the negativity of people on here and on the platform, and I was falling into that, getting into fights with people on there. And so the message when I came back was like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. If you want to yell, if you want to say I'm wrong, go for it, man. I'm going to say is okay, thumbs up, good job, I'll like it, move on. We move on. I said this during the game, jokingly. Well, I guess it was after the game. And I said, I'm okay if Tepper moves this team. It gives me a chance to hit the NFL fan market as a free agent. As a joke, folks. It's a joke. Do you think I seriously want the Panthers to move? No. Am I extremely frustrated with David Tepper or the Teppers and us having 6 straight losing seasons? It's the most straight losing seasons in franchise history. We have not made the playoffs in 6 years. Most in franchise history. Keep chalking it up. We're turning into the Browns from years ago. That's what it feels like, paper bags. We already got the paper bag memes coming out there. So don't come at me, man. I mean, it's got 19 people retweeted it. 17 people quoted me, and half of them were like, oh, not a true fan. Here's the other thing. I will say this, and guess what? If you got kids tuning in, close their ears. Because I am doing it, man. Because I'm doing it. I do this because I want to do it. As a I call it a volunteer. It's just how I want to spend my time. Some people like to go out and play golf, and I do love to play golf, and I'm terrible. Some people love bowling. Some people like to read books. Others may like to drink and play poker. Whatever your thing is, work on your car. I like to record a dang podcast about the Panthers, worst team in football. I choose to do this. And I chose to do it since I started the show myself. Like, this was the thing I was going to do. Yeah, part of it was like, okay, the Panthers have this thing building last year. This is a great opportunity for me to do this and actually get some people involved that want to hear me. And it's worked out really well. It truly has worked out well. But I volunteered to do this. I'm not getting paid. I do it for free because I love it. And I love growing the Panthers fan base. And people coming on here saying I'm not a true fan, I'm not this, I'm not that. Y'all can kiss my ass. And I wanted to say you can kiss my effing ass, but I didn't say it. First time we cussed on the show. And it's long overdue. Because, one, I work an 8 to 5. So the hours that I spend on this, I'm listening to the pressers. And, press conference, we have 4 or 5 a week. That's 30 minutes a day listening to them, usually on the drive in or the drive home. Then I'm recording 2 episodes per week, and that maybe takes an hour. A lot of that's after Pearson's been put to bed, even late at night when everyone's gone to bed, so that I can spend time with family and on most nights. So I'm doing this because I want to do it. So you're going to tell me I'm not a fan? I want to see you doing it. Yeah, I know there's other 20 or 30 Panthers podcasters, and I say that because everybody else can kiss my ass. Yes, you can. If you have an issue with my fandom or the way I think, I don't care, man. I don't. And go ahead, give me the negative reviews. Give me that, because guess what? This thing's growing, folks. And people are tuning in. People are listening. So I don't really care. That's the thing. I show up and I show out, and I'm going to do things the right way. And I know I'm going on a little bit of rant that's way off what I normally do, but that's the way I'm going to do it, man. And this thing is going to be here. And it's going to take off, and those who want to support while it's in this stage, that's great. If you want to come back later, that's fine. Or if you don't want to support at all, that's all okay too. But you're never going to sit here and tell me I'm not a fan and I'm not a true fan or whatever else you want to call it, because not the case, man. I don't see, besides those 20 or 30 podcast people that I know and follow, taking their own time to do this, to sit down each week. And I know those folks know it. Being able to do this on your own time. I mean, you think about the amount of free time that you truly get. Being a new dad to a newborn. We have Nolan to keep up with, and I say like a new dad, meaning like dealing with a little child, 9-month-old, and Nolan with a middle school kid, keeping up with all of his activities and sports and being there as a dad, and then being a husband. And anyways, yeah. You can miss me with that. For those that are along for the ride, I do appreciate it. I don't think there's anyone listening to the show is in that boat. It's just for the folks that are outside that maybe want to just chime in. Guess what, though? Here's the thing I've learned about all these social medias. People can respond and comment. Guess what? I don't have to respond back. I don't even have to say anything. If I want, I can. I've realized it's better let them say whatever they want to do. Get your two cents, and I move on. Because when I almost responded to the guy, I looked and he had like 45 followers, and I was like, dude, no. I'm not getting into this. All right, let's get back to the game. I did not anticipate going on a rant there to that extent. Talking football, man, I wanted to clip the video or get a clip from Frank Reich in his presser because he comes in after the game, and I kid you not, if you're listening in, he was like basically saying that he felt that our offensive line did its job and almost dominated in the first half. We didn't score points or as many points as we would like, but we did our job and held our own. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up with him. There's just some things you're like, sorry, grab a drink. There's some things you're just like, you gotta stop talking, man. I don't know. I don't know when he's going to stop talking because he's just going to keep getting up there, saying dumb stuff. And do I think he's going to get fired? I don't know. Throw a 50-50 yes, no in a hat and pick it out, and that's likely the odds. I will say, though, it's heating up, man. I mean, there's a lot of rumors and reports, like not just Panthers fans, but around the league, that his seat is more than hot. And the pressure's there, and we know it. We know it. I even made a video on it on YouTube. You can go out and watch it. It's Frank Reich on the hot seat. He's on the hot seat. There's no denying that. We've got this other report that comes out from CBS Sports that there are sharks lurking in the league that would love the opportunity to come in and coach this team, and Bryce Young. So it tells me that they see the potential and him and know that this could be something good, but I don't think they really understand what they're getting into with Tepper. That's the thing. When you have him running the show, maybe he's a good guy, but at least from a football operation standpoint, maybe you throw in the soccer there, it's just not working out, man. I don't know what to tell you, how to just get this thing back on track. What is the right move? I don't know if firing all these people is the right move. I don't know if a reset is the right move, but you're wasting away Bryce. And what hurts the most when you go back and, truly talking about this Cowboys game was the pressure. 7 sacks. Bryce Young is now second in the league in 9 games with the amount of times he's been sacked. I think it's 35 or 36. I don't have it in front of me. I'm not pulling it up just this second. Sam Howell leads the league with 51, which is insane by itself. Guess what? He also leads the league in passing with Eric Bieniemy, running off the show there with him. Makes you wonder, how things could have played out. And not to say that Eric was coming here, but you just wonder about that stuff. I don't know. I have a legitimate proposal for the Carolina Panthers, and it's about the safety of Bryce Young. He has, and Frank said it today, and I will go on record as I was worried coming into the year that he would not be able to withstand playing in the NFL, but he has. He has taken hits, been hit, knocked around quite a few times, gotten back up. We missed the one earlier in the year due to an ankle, popped up on the injury report late in this week, but wasn't anything serious. And he continues to battle back, continues to show up every day. And I got to commend him for that, because I never would have thought that would have been the case. But for his own safety, if this is the interior line that we're going to have with Chandler Zavala, Bradley Bozeman, and Austin Corbett running the show and just allowing pressure. Micah Parsons had a field day. We knew he would. It was plain stunts. There was an early, I think it might have been the first sack, where he just put Zavala on skates. And it was a very basic stunt that he got to and got around, but Zavala just whiffs, man. You can't have that. You can't. And here's my question, and this goes back to Fitter because he's the GM. You really, and Fitter, Frank's got to be involved in this too. You really thought that Throckmorton was that bad that you put in Zavala? Who made the decision that we're going to be playing one of the best defensive lines in the league in Micah Parsons, and we're going to go ahead and put a rookie guard in there that's missed some time and hasn't been great, over the veteran that started 7 games. Like, was it really that bad? I got to question that decision. I really do. But the pressure up the middle, Bryce, you look at some of these plays when he gets the ball, or like he is getting on his last step and his drop and the pressure's in his face. You can't do anything with that. And getting the ball to Adam is about the only thing. We've seen Mingo dropping the ball. The rushing attack wasn't bad. I mean, in the first half, I look back and I think Chuba Hubbard was averaging like 7 yards per carry. Miles Sanders even came alive, over 5 yards per carry. And then we get away from the run. And guess who's calling the plays? Frank Reich is calling the plays. I joked on Twitter that his best play call is a timeout. Calling a timeout. That's about all that he can do. When the offense did look good, it was in those situations where we had Bryce under center. I can't remember. I think it was Mike K that was tweeting it, that like the 2 plays or drives had to be plays, but there was a series where we went under center quite a few times, got first downs. One, I think it's a look that a lot of teams haven't seen, not having Bryce under center. When we talk about, and I'm kind of going a little bit around, but when we talk about this pressure that Bryce is getting, and you look at Icky and the failure, it's just been a bad year. I know some people talked about having a tight end on the outside of him to help out in a lot of situations last year, which I do think is true. But at the same time, dude, he's got to grow up and he's got to figure it out. It's just, you never would have expected it to be like this. And I'll do the old kudos to the Cowboys. If you're a Cowboys fan still on the pod this late, kudos to the Cowboys for, one, showing up and showing out Bank of America as predicted. It was hard to tell based off of the color scheme in the stadium because it's pretty similar colors, but I'm guessing, 70% Cowboys, probably more. You know, if there was the red, like the 49ers would have stuck out a lot more. The telling sign that it was not a Panthers home crowd was before the half, and Mike K even said this too, and in the back of my mind I was thinking it. When Bryce goes to knee after, we get the ball back with 24 seconds and there's no booing, you knew at that point that this was not your typical home game. Was not at all, man. Anyways, talking about the box score, that's the thing. We had like 80-some yards rushing in the first half and then just get away from it. And part of that is you make mistakes and you get behind, you have to throw, or at least you feel like you have to throw. But all things considered, defense did, I can't make this up, man. Defense continues to be the bright star. And if you're watching box score again, I can't really convince you otherwise. But on our side, 110 yards rushing. It was 10 for 57 for Chuba, 11 for 50 for Miles. Bryce Young was 16 of 29, 123 yards, sacked 7 times for 46 yards, 1 touchdown. Dak Prescott, 25 of 38, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we know Cooper Rush came in later. Also, man, it was like 3rd and 9, under 3 minutes to go in the fourth quarter when they were up by whatever, 20-something. And they ran a pass play. I was like, dude, come on now. The game's over. All things considered, rushing-wise, we know Pollard did have that one just super nice run. I don't know how we get a defensive holding call on an offensive rush that they score on, but it happened. 12 carries, 61 yards, and he did have the touchdown. I think they said that was his first rushing touchdown since week 1. And then Dowdle had 8 of 23. Turpin, man, that dude was fast. I think that's number 9. He had 1 carry for 13 yards, but I remember seeing the speed on him. Relatively quiet day defensive-wise as far as like the cornerback room. We did our job. CeeDee Lamb did get the 1 touchdown, and then Schoonmaker, tight end rookie that, talked about during the draft process. We did not do too well receiving outside of Thielen. He had 8 for 74, and then all other receivers had 2 or less catches. Chenault had 2. Chuba had 2. Did see the one nice play. The only play of 20 or more yards was the pass to Sullivan, so we didn't see anything from Strachan. Terrace Marshall Jr., didn't really talk about it, but Terrace Marshall Jr. was inactive, did not play, healthy scratch. And like I said, I anticipate him being gone. But Tommy Trimble did have the lone touchdown catching. Special teams, there wasn't a lot of special teams on both sides of the ball. Eddie, Eddie's a good kicker, but kicking it out of bounds and giving them, opportune field position after it was somewhat close, like that hurt, man. That just hurt. So yeah, final another thing I didn't talk about, penalties. My gosh, I think we had like 3 or 4 penalties, at least 3 on critical third downs that end up giving them a first down. But we had 8 for 90, 8 penalties for 90 yards. And I said this, I put it out there, posted it, whatever you want to call it now, X'd it. And I said, when a coach gets fired, the owner's not going to come back and say, oh man, you know what? I know it was a down year, and I know the offensive line didn't do this, and then in this situation you didn't have this, and then this didn't happen. No, they're just going to say you failed to execute. Sorry, you're gone. That's how it works, man. That's how the NFL works. That's what the business is. Starting field position, I mean, wasn't terrible. 29-yard line for them, 25 for us. They had a punt, touchdown, field goal, punt, touchdown, field goal, end of game. We started the game with 3 punts, a field goal, and the end of the half. Coming out, had a punt, touchdown, interception, fumble, didn't help. I mean, that really was, like, I won't say the game was close, but, you know, if there was any hope to try and keep it close, all things went out the door once we had that fumble and interception, like, back-to-back. Points off of turnovers, man. And they ended up converting that into a field goal. Defensively, Micah Parsons led the way, 2.5 sacks. Guess what? Our stout defense, one thing we cannot do is rush the quarterback. No sacks. 0 sacks at all. Yeah, in the first half, Chuba and Saunders had 84 yards rushing. Well, I guess 81 because Bryce had 3. 5 of 10, 48 yards. So we went away from the run. We had the 5.6 yards per carry in the first half, and we get away from that. Get away from an identity that actually was working, and it was a good change up because you had Chuba, downhill powder runner, and then you had Miles Sanders, who had some holes that have not been there, and making cuts. You know, he's really good at that, you know, make a cut, make a move, and take off. And we saw it, and then we get away from it. And that's just the story of our season and who we are as a football team. Get down to the bottom here because I wanted to quickly, plays over 20 yards. They actually had 6 plays over 20 yards. 2 of them aided by penalties. They also had another 1 for 19 and 2 for 18. So they were not short on big plays. We had 1 play over 20 yards. Outside of that, 16, 15, 14. It's not great, folks. It's not great. And, you know, closing out this week's episode, as I ramble along, I've got 2 things. One topic regarding Cowboys. So if you watched the pregame on Fox, it felt like something was going to happen in the pregame when they had Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones on TV talking. And part of this, you wonder why the heck were they doing this at Carolina? This was the keep pounding game, by the way, something I didn't really talk about. But anyways, they're having the pregame talk on Fox, and then they start talking about the Ring of Honor. It actually is a really good conversation, and then it turns into Jerry Jones telling Jimmy Johnson he's going to get inducted into the Cowboys Ring of Honor. And as a football fan, that was a good moment, man. And I don't care. Maybe you know Cowboys aren't your team, not America's team. You hate them. I read through Jimmy's book. It had really good content in there, and just to see that moment was really special. Closing it out though, the other thing, talking through quarterback injuries, primarily Joe Burrow, and if you followed this saga, there is now David Portnoy of Barstool Sports looking to sue the NFL because Joe Burrow did not make the injury report for the Bengals. However, he gets off the plane and his arm is in like an air brace or cast. He goes into the game, ends up getting injured and then being knocked out of the game. But a lot of money was riding on the Bengals, and people saying, you know, if they had known in that situation that he was injured, they would have not placed the money. So anyways, all right, folks, that's